Hello everyone, DM Gashbad here. Welcome back to Zombicide Black Plague. This is part 2 of a two-part campaign, The Cursed Village. Specifically, since we finished part 1 in less than 14 rounds, we are on part 2A. Our heroes are trying to escape a village that is being run by a terrifying necromantic city council. We were able to escape with all our heroes last game, and all our wounds, equipment, and experience transfer over, so I'll just go over the current state of the party real quick. On the left, we have Nellie. Nellie is in the orange experience level. She is rocking 2 daggers and a hammer. She also has a vial of dragon bile, but no torch. She has unfortunately taken 2 wounds already, so down to her last wound, and for her orange skill, she has picked up Bloodlust Melee. Baldric the Wizard has also taken 2 wounds, got kind of a hurt party here. He is carrying around a short sword, and Inferno is equipped in his other hand. In his backpack, he's also got Mana Blast, Repulse, and Fireball. He is in the orange level as well, and for that skill, he picked up a free magic action. Unfortunately, we picked up Samson the Dwarf very late in the last game, so he has 0 experience, but also no wounds. He's carrying around a longbow with plenty of arrows and a sword. Finally, we have Silas the Elf, unhurt and in the orange level. He has picked up +1 free ranged action. That goes great with his orcish crossbow with plenty of bolts. He's also running around with a sword and invisibility scroll in hand. And as you can tell from my heroes, we're using Warhammer Fantasy models as proxies. For the bad guys, the walkers are represented by Warhammer zombies, the runners are represented by ghouls, fatties are plague bearers, necromancers are necromancers, and that big spawn on the right is our abomination. For the Cursed Village Part 2A, we have a 3-tile setup that you can see here. Our heroes are starting off in the yellow vault. The yellow vault door is directly in the center of the board. There are active spawn points on the left and right. There's 3 walkers over on the left and 2 fatties on the right. There are also 4 objective markers in the corners. There's a blue and a green objective. When you pick up those, all survivors gain 5 experience points, and the green spawn zone in the top left becomes active. The remaining 2 red objectives give 5 experience to the character that picks it up, and when you grab the second red objective, it becomes the exit. So it's going to be pretty straightforward. We're going to have to rush to either end to get those objectives and escape, but because we're at a fairly high experience level, the board is going to get filled up with angry zombies pretty quickly. The game starts, and we're going to start off with Samson because he needs some experience. He opens the vault door. Doors open automatically. We don't need to roll in this scenario. But we do need to spawn monsters in that room that we've just opened up, and we get a necromancer right off the bat. He of course arrives with his spawn zone and a group of friends, which in this case is 4 walkers. Unperturbed, Samson moves into the room, takes out that sword of his, and strikes down the necromancer, removing the spawn zone and getting him on the experience tracker. Nellie activates next. She's going to use Bloodlust to move into that room and then perform a melee attack. With 2 daggers, that gives her a total of 4 attacks, hitting on 4+, but her first salvo of attacks only kills 1 zombie. She spends another action attacking and kills 2 more zombies, and with her third action, kills off the last one. Finally, she smashes open the door and uses her free move action to move out into the city streets. Baldric is up next. He uses 4 actions to move off to the right in front of those fatties, and then one of his 2 free magic actions to blast them with his Inferno spell. Similarly, Silas moves out of the vault, uses his 4 actions to go over to the left and take aim with his orcish crossbows on those walkers stumbling around over there. He did have to use his plenty of bolts reroll, but with his free ranged attack action manages to kill off 2 of them. Over to the zombie turn, that 1 walker shambles towards Silas, and then we roll for the left-hand spawn zone first, and we get a runner activation, which would be bad if we had any runners on the table, but we don't, so we go over to the right-hand spawn zone, and we get a fatty activation. This is really nice to get those activation cards out of the way early on, especially since none of them are on the table. Would have been a problem if Baldric hadn't killed off those 2 plague bearers on the right, but real good opening hand. Nellie is going to start round 2 for us. She starts by using her free move action to go over to the left. Then she uses Bloodlust to jump into the square with that 1 remaining walker and kill him off. Feeling confident, she moves 2 more squares and uses her last action to open up that door on the top left. And we find an abomination! Uh-oh, that's not what I wanted to see. Nellie's in trouble. We've got plenty of dragon bile, but no torches. There's no way for us to actually kill this abomination. And as you remember, Nellie has only got one wound left, so I move Silas over to her zone just in case that abomination moves out and gets another activation, so that Silas can take the hit instead of Nellie. Samson is still in the central room. He desperately searches it looking for a torch. He finds a dagger, which is nice, but not what we wanted. He moves out and to the left to try and provide some backup. Baldric moves to his zone and activates a trade. What I really want to do is put the repulse spell in my hand. So if I can't actually kill this abomination, at least I can push him around a little bit. While I'm at it, I go and take the sword from Samson, because Baldric can carry a sword on his body, and unfortunately I have to give a short sword to Samson. Over to the zombies, and the abomination heads out of his room to say hello to Silas and Nellie. Over on the left, we get a double spawn, so no spawn over there. Over on the right, we get one fatty and one runner, which isn't bad at all. So not having any zombies show up on the left is helping me out here, so I might have a shot. I'm going to start with Silas. Silas is going to use 2 actions to move away from the abomination, off to the left and into that room with that objective. We get the green objective, which is not really what I wanted, but at least everyone gets 5 experience points. It does unfortunately activate that green spawn zone immediately to our right. With Silas's final action, he moves back into the zone with the abomination. Nellie activates next and uses 2 actions to move away from the abomination. Don't want to hang out there any longer than I have to. She moves 1 more zone to the south and opens up the door in the lower left. That reveals 4 walkers, which is a little bit more than I want to deal with. So for her final action, she heads back to that left-hand crossroads and hopes that she can have her friends give her some support. That support comes in the form of Baldric, who moves 3 squares to join Nellie, and then he uses his newly equipped Repulse to blast the abomination back into his starting room. Go to your room. I think this is okay. Repulse says that it affects zombies, the abomination is a zombie, and you have to move him 1 zone away. That's further away than Baldric is. It doesn't say it has to be done in a straight line, so I think this is alright. I could send him down south to start throwing infernos into that room with the walkers, but again, Baldric is also on 1 wound, so if any walkers survive and they get an extra activation, then they could easily kill him. And of course, Samson, still at level 1, has to jog in there to provide some protection for these guys. Zombie turn again, the walkers shuffle out of their room, the abomination steps forward to hang out with his friend Silas. The monsters on the right advance, we go on to the spawn step. We get 2 brutes on the left, the newly activated spawn zone on the upper left gives us a necromancer, so in comes another spawn zone with another 2 brutes, and finally 1 more brute all the way on the right. That's a lot of fatties. New hero turn, and I'm going to start with Baldric because he has to get some work done. He repulses the abomination back into that room on the upper left, saving Silas the extra action to move away. He then pulls out the Inferno spell and kills the 2 fatties on the spawn zone on the left. That puts him in the red experience level, so things are going to get real busy real fast. He does, however, pick up a free combat action as his last skill. Baldric can now fire 3 free magic combat attacks a round. He immediately put that to use by blasting to the south. His first Inferno shot into those walkers misses all of them. The second one kills 2 of them. His third kills off 1 more zombie, and the last kills the last one. Even with all that, he still has 1 regular action remaining, so he uses it to just casually walk off to the right. Silas activates next. He moves 4 squares to stand in front of the room with the newly activated spawn zone and fire the orcish crossbow into there, killing off the necromancer's 2 fatty bodyguards. Samson activates next. He moves to the bottom left room to get that last objective over on the left. That turns out to be a green objective. Okay. This exit is hard to find. That does, however, finally put him in the yellow zone, so he gets an extra action. It also puts Nellie in the red. She chooses the skill that gives her +1 to her die rolls in combat. For that new action that Samson got, he moves back into the street, and then we go to Nellie. She moves 2 squares. She uses Bloodlust to get into the Necromancer and easily dispatches him with her dual daggers, and then moves back to join Silas. Zombie turn again. The abomination on the left again exits his room trying to chase down our heroes. The zombies on the right advance, trying to get to that really noisy zone where Baldric was shooting off all those infernos. That does mean that lead runner splits into 2 because there are 2 paths that are equidistant. There's a lot of action in the spawn phase. That left-hand spawn zone again gets a double spawn, so we move over to the green one, and we get a Necromancer. So another Necromancer spawn point ends up there. We draw a card for that, and we get an Abomination, so that Abomination takes an extra step forward, is now breathing down Baldric's neck. The final card for that top left mess gives us 5 more walkers, and in the right, 3 more runners. Lot of brutes and runners over on the right. Next round, I'm going to start off with Baldric again. He's going to repulse that Abomination back to that left-hand spawn zone to give Samson a clear path to get out of there. He then moves 2 zones to stand in front of the room with the Necromancer and uses the Inferno spell to blast 3 zombies with his first shot, and then 2 more zombies with the second shot, leaving just the Necromancer. Putting a lot of faith in his friends, he then uses his last 2 actions to go stand on the zone in the center right with that runner. So the pressure's on Nelly to finish up what Baldric has left. She starts off by using Bloodlust to rush into that room with the spawn zone and kill off the Necromancer. She then takes her free move action and Bloodlust again into the zone with Baldric and kills off that runner. And then, like Pac-Man with an energy pellet, she continues to zip around this maze, killing off these undead monsters. She Bloodlusts again, down 2 squares to kill off that runner in the lower right, and then takes her last move action to end up in the center. That's a pretty hard act to follow. Silas moves 3 zones to give Nelly some protection, and also fires that Orcish crossbow at the lead fatty, killing him off. And all Samson can do is take his 4 actions to try and jog back to the rest of the group. It occurs to me now that when I killed off the Necromancer, I just removed the Necromancer spawn zone in that upper left, but it probably would have been a better idea for me to leave it, because I'm moving away from that spot, and remove the spawn zone in the far right. Oh well, something to think about in the future. Back to the zombies. The Abomination is still trying to truck towards us. The zombies on the right move into the square right in front of Silas and Nelly. And for spawns, we get 2 runners in the left, 6 walkers in the top left, and 3 runners to the right. Back to Baldric and his mountain of free spell actions. He moves 1 square down to join Nelly and Silas, and then uses Inferno to kill the fatty and the runner immediately to the right. He fires Inferno again to kill off 1 runner, and then a 3rd time to kill off the last zombie in that zone, and then confidently steps forward 1 more zone. Silas feels like he should add to the kill tally, so he moves 1 square forward and kills off 2 runners with his Orcish crossbow. He then reloads and kills the last one. Silas is still in orange. He really wants to get into the red zone with the rest of his friends. Without anyone to kill and not wanting to move too close to that spawn zone and risk zombies ambushing my guys, Samson and Nelly just move up to that same square to join their friends. We've come a long way. We don't really want to put ourselves at risk at the very end. The zombies on the left continue to swarm after us for spawns. We get 3 runners to the left, 5 walkers in the top left, and another Necromancer shows up on the right with 6 walkers as bodyguards. That's a little bit of a problem, but like most problems in this game, it can be solved by a lot of Inferno spells. So Baldric moves forward, kills off 3 zombies with his first blast, 1 zombie with his second, another zombie with his third, not rolling real well. The 4th blast still just kills 1 zombie, leaving the Necromancer all on his lonesome. I don't really want to leave Baldric in front of that spawn zone, so he moves to the top and uses his last action to open up that door on the top right. That reveals an extra activation for all walkers. Real good thing I killed off all those guys on that spawn zone to the right. The horde on the left surges towards us. Silas is up next and he mercilessly guns down another Necromancer, removing his spawn zone on the right. He then moves to join Baldric because I don't want him left alone with his 1 wound remaining. Nelly is next. She moves 2 zones and opens up that door on the lower right, and we find 7 walkers. That's kind of a lot of dead guys. If she runs in there with her 2 daggers and doesn't roll real well, she could be in a lot of trouble. But we're gonna go for it. She bloodlusts in and kills 3 with her first attack, and then she takes 1 more combat action and kills another 3. Hitting on 3 pluses makes a big difference, so that's not too bad. There's still 1 walker remaining. This looks like a job for Samson. He uses 3 actions to move into that lower right room. He's at full health with the Ironhide skill, so I'm not too worried, but I'd really like to kill off this last zombie and not take the hit at all. Unfortunately, the only weapon his comrades have left him with is that short sword, so he gets 1 attack hitting on a 4+, and he does it! Way to finish strong, Samson. He kills off that one zombie, and we've cleared the right-hand side. The giant horde on the left advances towards us again. This is spurred along by spawning a necromancer with 3 runners over on the left. The top left spawn zone gives us a double spawn, and so over on the right we get 6 walkers and then 7 walkers. I've gone through all my nice plastic zombies, we're on to the old metal ones. So I have a plan, and I think it's going to work. We're going to start with Nellie. She's going to take the objective in the lower left. I know it's a red objective. She gets 5 XP. It's not going to help her. She's already in the red. And with her bonus move action, she can get all the way to that top right room with the 1 remaining objective. Samson has to use all 4 of his actions to join her. And then we move on to Silas. Silas could move into that room and probably be just fine, but there are a lot of walkers on the board. I'd sure hate to run out of those guys and give him a bunch of extra activations. So he moves south, kills off 2 zombies with his orcish crossbow. That puts him in the red zone. I give him the skill Iron Rain because that's awesome. Unfortunately, I don't quite have enough actions to make use of it this round. I still got to reload that crossbow. So instead, he just moves up to that northeast corner to join Samson and Nellie. And finally, we activate Baldric, who steps south, then throws 4 Infernos, killing off 8 zombies before rejoining the rest of his party. Zombie turn, and something's going to have to go pretty horribly wrong to stop my heroes from escaping next round. The surviving zombies shuffle in from all directions. And for spawns, we draw another Necromancer, so our Necromancer on the board scoots forward a little bit. The Necromancer spawn zone produces 3 more fatties. Another 3 fatties show up in the top left, and 6 more walkers arrive to the right. That's a lot of guys, but it's all too late. We let Samson take the honors of claiming that last objective, which turns into the exit, and one by one, my heroes pop down the secret passage and escape the cursed village. So that was supposed to be a hard mission, but my guys did pretty well. I was a little worried when I found that abomination really early on in the game, but with the repulse spell we were able to push him around and do what we needed to do to move on. I think having these linked games is a great idea. I'm a sucker for games where your people gain experience and you get better game to game just in general, but I really like it in Zombicide because often you spend the game gathering experience, gathering equipment, and then at the very end, just when your guys really start going and getting some cool combat combos and abilities, then the game kinda ends and you don't really get to play with these abilities that much. Having a whole second quest to play around with your heroes at a higher level really helps. So yeah, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for further adventures from this band of heroes in Zombicide Black Plague. Leave a comment below if you have any questions, observations, or concerns, and I will see you on the next one.